إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Dear brothers in Islam, the Sharia is a complete system of guidance for humanity in every single aspect of their life. Islam is a complete way of life. It covers the belief of the Muslim. It covers the practical actions and the rules and regulations that govern our lives. And it also covers our moral conduct and good character. Islam is a complete way of life. It's a complete system. When we look at the practical actions, fiqh, which means understanding, but also relates to the rulings pertaining to our daily practical actions, we find that Islam, the Sharia, it covers our acts of ibadah, the pillars of Islam, the shahadatain, establishing the Salah, giving the zakat, fast in the month of Ramadan, and performing Hajj to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the pillars of Islam. These are the rights of Allah. And it also has guidance, principles, legislation also pertaining to our family life, whether it's marriage, parenting, divorce, child custody, inheritance, everything pertaining to our family. And also it has guidance, guidelines, principles pertaining to our commercial life, our business transactions, finance, money, investment, wealth creation. And also it has principles and laws and legislation pertaining to crimes and punishments. So you find that Islam is a complete way of life. It doesn't negate, or you find that a Muslim competing in his hereafter doesn't necessitate and doesn't stop a person from striving to be successful in his here. A Muslim competing for his akhirah is not opposing and doesn't negate a Muslim striving to be successful in his worldly life, in his business, in his job, to amass and to attain wealth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, in Surah al-Jumah, the verse or the surah which is recommended for the Imam to read on Yaum al-Jumah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِذَا قُضِيَتِ الصَّلَاةُ فَانْتَشِرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَابْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions here, and that when the salat is over, then disperse, and you go out and disperse in the earth, seeking the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeking the blessings of Allah, seeking the bounties of Allah. And you know, when you leave the masjid, the dua, the supplication that you say, when you leave the masjid, you say, Allahumma inni as'aluka min fadlik. Oh Allah, I ask you from your bounty. So the basis of a Muslim, when he's not engaged in ibadah, is that he's working either in tijara, business and buying and selling, or in employment, He's working. He's working to provide for himself and he's working to provide for his family. He's not dependent upon asking others. He's not a person that looks for handouts. He's a person that goes out and strives to earn an income, so he's not dependent and he's not a person that's seeking always what's in the hand of other people. Pay attention to that ayah. The one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says before that ayah, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha nudiya lis-salati min yawm al-jum'ah fas'aw ila dhikrillahi wa dharul bay'. Dhalikum khayrun lakum in kuntum ta'lamun. Are you who believe? When the adhan has gone for Yaum al-Jum'ah, raise to the remembrance of Allah and leave off bay'. Leave off your business, your tijara, your commercial activities. That is better for you if only you knew. This ayah, it tells us two things. Number one, that a person's deen comes first and foremost before his dunya. But it also tells us something else which is important. And that is that before he came for Jum'ah, what was he engaged in? He was engaged in commercial activity, he was working. He's leaving off bay', which is halal. And he's coming to the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the remembrance of Allah. And then when he finishes his Jum'ah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands him to disperse in the land to seek what? To seek the bounty of Allah. Okay, that command is not an obligation. It doesn't say you don't have to go. It's a command after prohibition which shows permissibility. However, the asl is still that a person goes out and he seeks from the bounty of Allah by working. And this is the asl of the Muslim. One of the Salaf, he used to mention that after Jum'ah Salat, he would stop at the door and he would supplicate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, Allahumma inni ajabtu da'watak wa salaytu faridatak wa antashartu kama amartani farzuqni min fadlika wa anta khairur raziqeen. He would supplicate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, Oh Allah, I answered your invitation. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha nudiya lis-salati min yawm al-jum'ah fas'aw ila dhikrillah. That's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, Ajabtu da'watak, I answered your call. Wa salaytu faridatak, and I prayed the obligatory prayer. Wa antashartu, and I've dispersed and I'm leaving. Kama amaratin, like you've commanded me. Then farzuqni, therefore give me rizq. Give me sustenance, min fadli, from your bounty. So, if we look at the Muslim community, past and present, the Muslim community is successful when we are working to develop ourselves and develop our families through work. And the culture of society as a large can either support that or it can have negative impact on that. A society that depends on handouts. The Muslim community is a community that depends upon business, upon working, upon striving, not upon easy money or free money. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْءَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَا. There's no such thing as free money. Money doesn't make money. It's commerce, leasing, business. This is what a person does. Working, services. So, we're in one of the developed countries where a person's able to go out and develop his business. He's able to go out and get a job. He's able to work with his own hands and support himself. And we need to do that, to represent what Islam is all about. Not just in our ibadah, in our worship, but also in our dealings, in our commercial activities. We have to produce, we have to build, we have to construct, we have to develop. And to do that, we have to put in a lot of effort. We have to work. Because there's no doubt that a person is respected when he's living by his own means. But when he's living by the means of others, then he's humiliated, or he lives a life of relative humiliation. And Islam came to give us izzah. Islam came to give us honor, which is why begging and depending upon others and asking others, especially when there's no need, is something which is impermissible in Islam. Let's look at the hadith of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam concerning the importance of work. The Messenger, the Prophet Dawood alayhi salam. The Prophet Dawood alayhi salam, لا يأكل إلا من عمل يده. This is the Prophet Dawood alayhi salam, and he was a king. The Prophet Dawood alayhi salam was a king, yet he didn't eat except from his own work, the manual labour of his hands. That's the Prophet Dawood alayhi salam, a prophet and a king. وَلَا يَأْكُلُ إِلَّا مِنْ عَمَلِ يَدِهِ. Also as well, look at the hadith of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لأن يحتب أحدكم حزمة على ظهره خير له من أن يسأل أحدا فيعطيه أو يمنعه متفق عليه. In this hadith, Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that it is better for one of you to carry a bundle of wood on his back. It is better for you to carry a bundle of wood on your back and to sell it than to beg someone for him to give you something, or you never know, he might refuse you of that thing. This hadith is very important because it shows that a Muslim, he works. Even if the work is difficult, manual labour, building, plumbing, whatever the job is. كان زكريا نجار. The Prophet Zakaria alayhi salam, he was a carpenter. He was a carpenter. Shows you the nobility of work of that job and that profession, that the Prophet Zakaria alayhi salam was a carpenter. So it may be manual work. It may be services. It may be entrepreneur setting up your own business. Whatever it is, however, a Muslim has to be willing to put in effort. He has to be willing to strive and not to be lazy. Not to be dependent upon others and then face a level of disgrace and humiliation, but rather to be independent in his financial activities, in his commercial activities, in his striving to create something for himself and for his family, to build wealth. Because there's no doubt that being productive increases your opportunities and it also increases your wealth. And the Muslim who is wealthy and grateful is better than the Muslim who is poor. The Muslim who is wealthy and grateful is better than the Muslim who is poor. As you know, the companion came to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, one of the poor companions, and he said, ذهب أهل الدثور بالأجور. That the people of wealth, أهل الدثور بالأجور. The people of wealth, they have gone with all the rewards. And then he explained what he meant. They pray like we pray. They fast like we fast. And they also give sadaqah with the wealth that they've got, which the poor people don't have. Zakat, the third pillar of Islam, is dependent upon a person having wealth. The people that are poor, they're the recipients of zakat, not the donors or the givers. So he said, ذهب أهل الدثور بالأجور. They pray like we pray, they fast like we fast, and they give wealth from the surplus money that Allah has blessed them with. So the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't leave him to go away without giving him something that he can compensate for that. So he said, shall I not tell you something which is greater than that? You get a lot of reward basically. So after every salat, make sure you say Subhanallah 33 times, Alhamdulillah 33 times, Allahu Akbar 33 times, and round it off by saying La ilaha illallah to make 100. So the companion, he left happy. He left happy because now he realized he was equal in terms of reward that he could earn with the wealthy. So then he came back later and he said, that now they also do that as well, the wealthy. Now they found out about that. They also add that, which means what? That they still get more reward. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam replied, ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. That's the fadl of Allah. That's the bounty of Allah that He gives it to whomsoever He decides and wishes to give it to. But a person has to strive. He has to put in effort. He has to have determination and he has to have high aspirations. His path to the akhirah does not stop him from seeking rizq, which is halal in his worldly life, in his dunya. When it comes to Islam and we look at, for example, their system, then our social welfare, it comes from our family. You as gatekeepers, or you as shepherds of your families, you're the one who your families depend upon. You're the ones who your family turns to, your wife and your children. You're the ones who your family look at. What do they see? They have to see somebody who's striving, who's putting in effort to increase, to work, not somebody that's dependent upon others. The izzah and the honour of the man in the house is because he's the one that's provided. He's working. He might be working 2 jobs, but he's working. So there's, in Islam, the support system, it comes from the family. When it comes from the family, then people are more careful how they're going to spend the money. But when it's somebody else's money, then you don't care how you spend it. Because you now know that it's not your money, it's not your family's money, it's somebody else's money. Other people's property, people don't value as much as they value their own. So this is also something which is important to bear in mind. The impact working and striving to earn a living which is halal has on your family. بارك الله ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعني وإياكم بما فيه من الآيات والذكر الحكيم. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين استغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Islam, it provides us with solutions to problems and it provides us with guidelines and principles. So even when it comes to our commercial activities, our buying and our selling, our working, the jobs that we take, the jobs that we do, there are rules, there are guidelines, there are etiquettes that we are bound by. And some of these etiquettes, or from these etiquettes, you have things which are considered ethics or moral conduct, and things which are considered rules, laws, legislation. From the most important of the ethics when it comes to buying and selling or our dealings with others in business transactions is that as a Muslim, we are always truthful. Truthfulness is our trade, that's our job. And that's where we get our barakah. The blessings in our transactions as a Muslim community comes from our being honest and staying away from deceit and lying. As the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in the hadith, al-bay'an bil-khiyar ma lam yatafarraqa فإن صدقا وبينا بورك في بيعهما. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in this hadith that the 2 people that are in a transaction, a commercial transaction, the buyer and the seller, they have the option to not go ahead so long as they haven't departed or separated. But the next part of the hadith is what I want to focus on, want you to reflect upon that over. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, فإن صدقا وبينا بورك في بيعهما. If they are truthful and they're clear, they're transparent, they're not hiding defects, they're not hiding things, they're transparent and they're clear, then their trade and their commerce will be blessed. What about the opposite? وَإِن كَذَّبَ, if they lie, and they're not transparent, then the blessing or the barakah of that transaction will be devoid of blessings. The purpose of our commercial activity is seeking the blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because wealth without barakah is not going to benefit us in the akhirah. We seek in our wealth, like we seek in our life, the barakah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the blessings of Allah in all of our commercial transactions. Also, from the important etiquettes of commercial activity, of buying and selling, or of dealings in general with other people, is that a Muslim has to be fair. He has to be fair and he has to be principled. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes a certain type of people. A certain type of people who are not fair when it comes to their buying and selling in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes it in the Quran. وَيْلٌ لِلْمُطَفِّفِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا اكْتَالُوا عَلَى النَّاسِ يَسْتَوْفُونَ وَإِذَا كَالُوهُمْ أَوْ وَزَنُوهُمْ يُخْسِرُونَ. Look at this description of these people. أَلَا يَظُنُّ أُولَٰئِكَ أَنَّهُمْ مَبْعُوثُونَ لِيَوْمٍ عَظِيمٍ يَوْمَ يَقُومُ النَّاسُ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes a certain type of people. They're called mutaffifin. Allah says, woe to the people who are mutaffifin. Then Allah describes them. They're the ones, when they are getting measure from the other person, they're the ones that are getting the measure, they make sure that they get every single gram, every single haq, they make sure that they get it from the other person. When it's their turn to give, they're the one that's going to be on the giving end. They're the one that's selling. They're not the one that's receiving. Now they're the one that are selling. Then they try to shortchange people. They try to give them less than they're supposed to be giving for the price that they're going to be receiving. Then Allah says, do they not think that they're going to be resurrected? Do they not think that they're going to be resurrected on a severe day or a significant day? لِيَوْمٍ عَظِيمٍ يَوْمَ يَقُومُ النَّاسُ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. The day that mankind will stand before the Lord of the creation. Don't they fear Allah in their dealings with people, in their taking the rights of others, and they're not fulfilling the rights of other people when it comes to commercial transactions? So a Muslim has to be fair. He has to be fair, not just when he's receiving, he has to be fair also when he's giving, even if it may mean that he loses out. Even if it means that he loses out on something, he loses out on profit in one transaction or two transactions. As long as he's fair, his wealth in general will be blessed. But the moment he thinks he's going to try to shortchange someone to make a profit when he's not due one, then in that case he's going to lose. He's going to lose. He's going to be from the losers. So in other words, when it comes to business, the person has to treat others like he would like to be treated. Also, from the most important etiquettes of business, of buying and selling, is that if you make an agreement, you stick to it. If you set stipulations, you're bound by the stipulations that you set in the contract. You don't try to get out of it, try to wiggle your way out of stipulations and contracts that you're bound by. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, al-Muslimuna ala shurutihim. That Muslims are bound by the conditions that they set. إِلَّا شَرَطًا حَرَّمَ حَلَالًا أَوْ أَحَلَّ حَرَامًا. Except for a condition that makes something which is haram permissible or something which is permissible haram. So we have to abide by our agreements. We have to abide by the conditions that we stipulate. And then there are certain values, certain examples of values which are essential when it comes to commercial contracts and transactions that a person has. From the values is that a person, when it comes to his payment for a service which is rendered, or his delivery of a product which has been ordered, he pays on time and he delivers on time. This is from moral conduct, from good character. Islam is built upon Islam is ihsan. Islam is a person perfecting. Islam is a person perfecting every aspect of his life, not just in his ibadah, but also in the way that he deals with other people. Also as well, when it comes to moral values pertaining to commercial transactions, that a person should tolerate. He should tolerate when it comes to his bargaining with others, so that he's considerate of the circumstances of also the person that he's doing transactions with. What does that mean? It's not a case that for me to get a leg up, I have to step on somebody's head. For me to make a profit, it means I have to put somebody in the ground. No. He has to be considerate of the circumstances of the person that he's doing business with as well. And these are from the ethics and the morals when it comes to commercial transactions from one person to another. And lastly, as previously mentioned, but just to emphasize, he has to be honest in everything that he says. He has to have honesty in all of his statements. He has to have honesty in all of the things that he's representing. And this is from the ethics when it comes to business transactions between two people. هذا وقد أمركم بأمر بلغته في نفسه فقال جل القائل إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين وأذل الشرك والمشركين وأقم الصلاة